For this exercise, we're going to create an interactive PDF form. To do this, everything is going to be created in InDesign. So, to set it up, let's go to File, Create a New Document. We only need one page, and the size of it's going to be a regular letter size, 8.5 by 11. However, we do want to set the number of columns to 2 with a gutter of 1/8 of an inch, 125, and we'll let our margins be unlinked. The top margin is going to be 1 1/4 with the bottom margin of 1 inch, and the inside and outside is going to be 1/2 of an inch. We'll say OK. The next thing we need to do is to place our logo at the very top of our page. So we'll drop it in, Command D, locate the Mississippi Medical logo, say Open, and just center that at the very top. We really don't have to resize it or anything. Now, everything that we create is going to be in 2 different text boxes. So use your Type tool to create a text box on the left side and another text box along the right side. And do make sure it goes all the way to the edge. Let's work on the left side first. To create the headings within our area, you've got patient information and then you've got the stuff underneath it. Patient information, fill in for husband and wife, and fill in if they're a minor, is all created in a table. So with our Type tool selected, click once. Let's go to Table and insert a table. And I'm going to make mine 1 by 1. Then we can type in our information. So the first form should be patient information. If I want it to be all caps, I can highlight it, choose all caps. The size of it needs to be 16 point. And the font that I'm using for this one is Minion Pro Regular. We do want to center it up, so in our case we're going to choose Center Alignment, and I'll even open my object. Text, choose our selection tool. Now I can go to select our cell, there we go, and do our center alignment in our cell, not within the document itself. Also, with the cell selected, let's change the fill color of the cell to black, and then I'm going to choose the type and set the type color to be paper. Also, with it selected, we can turn off this stroke. Now, everything that I have will be centered inside of that text box. If I wanted, I can highlight this text box, or the entire cell, do Command C to copy it, hit a couple of returns, and I can paste it and have one pre-formatted. Then all I have to do is change the information that's inside of this. So the second one is going to be fill in for husband, wife, and the final one is fill in if patient is a minor. Between each one of these, or underneath each of the headings, is where we're going to place our other information that they will fill in. So I've got my Type tool selected. We'll give it a little bit of space between each one. Go in and type out all of the information that you have from the JPEG example that I gave you. I'm just going to format these first 2 rows, the first, middle, and last, city, state, and zip. So first name, tab, middle, tab, last, hit the return, city, tab, state, tab, and zip. Again, you'll type in everything else that's needed from here. Once you have everything typed, we can highlight them all. The format that we need this to be is size 9 with a 28-point leading. And we're going to set these to be small caps. Small caps is underneath all caps, and there's that. Also, while I have them highlighted, I'll highlight one row at a time and set my tabs. Remember, Shift-Command-T will open your tabs, and then you can move everything over to fit. Again, look at the example that I give you. These don't have to be perfect, but just go one line at a time and set a tab to move your information over. The last thing we need to do is, rather than having a leader next to each one of my tabs, I've got a rule or a line on top of every paragraph that we have. To create that line, highlight the area, then let's open our paragraph palette. Go to Window, down to Type and Tables, open Paragraph. In the Paragraph Options button, we're going to choose Paragraph Rules. And these are rules not like rules of a game, but actual lines. There's a couple of options to choose, but we're going to make a rule above, turn on the rule. By default, it's going to be down below. We're going to set the weight of it to be 1/2 of a point. Choose the offset to be 0.125, 1/8 of an inch. Notice when the offset is increased, it moves it up. I do have preview turned on. And the width of it is going to be set to column. This way it goes all the way to the edge of your column. Otherwise, it'll go to the edge of your text. So we'll set column and say OK to that. You'll need to set a rule for each of the lines that you have. So select them. You can actually select multiple lines. Open up your paragraph rules. Turn on the rule above. Set it to be 1/2 of a point. And then set your offset to be 1/4 of an inch. Or excuse me, 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to pause the video and place everything inside of here. Okay. Typed out all of my information, including the little bit down at the bottom. Now we can focus on typing the information on the right-hand side. As you see from my example, well, at least the example that I have here, let's go to our, bear with me a second, I'm going to go to my layers and turn off my top layers for now. There we are. I've got a series of yes and no checks, and also areas that they can explain and give reasons for. Remember, to create these special glyphs, these are your zap dingbats, and I opened up the glyphs panel to find both a circular and a square little dingbat for a checkbox and a fill-in area. Type it out as best as you can to get everything nice and aligned. Just make sure you give plenty of space to add all of your buttons. What I'm going to do is to copy all of this and place it into our form so that we can focus on making our buttons. Alright, with everything created, let's close out our paragraphs. I do need our layers open, but we don't need our swatches. Let's put that out of the way. In our layers panel, I'm going to create a new layer. Everything that we've typed so far is going to be on layer 1. On our new layer, above it, we're going to call this buttons or form. Here's where we're going to create all of our interactive elements. The first type of interactive element we need to create is a text box to type some type into the left-hand side. I'm going to zoom in, and let's open up our interactive elements, buttons, and forms. Go to go to Window, choose Interactive, and open Buttons and Forms panel. We'll drag this off to the side so we can see it. To create a button or a type area, choose just a regular rectangle. It really doesn't matter what kind of rectangle. I just like to use the traditional regular rectangle. And create a rectangle to fill in our form. I'm going to set its fill color to be none and also its stroke color to be none. Just a blank regular area. This will be where we type in our first name. In our panel, our buttons and forms panel, with it selected, change the type, select it, area, change the type to be a text field. Notice that it'll change the look of our selected area. For now, we're going to keep the name of it just whatever comes up default. This will allow us to type text into this particular field. What we want to do is to make a copy of each one of these to give an area that we can type into. So all I did was hold down my Option key, click and drag, and this will create another one in order. And you can give it a little bit of space in between as necessary. When I create a copy of each one of these, it's going to also copy the fact that it's a button, and it's going to update the name. So here's text field 4. When I make a copy of this one, this will be text field 5, and text field 6, so on and so forth. Readjusting the size as necessary. So if I need their phone number down here, maybe I'll stretch that one out to go the entire area, and then the email be a shorter area. you do want to go in order that you would fill out your form. So going top to bottom, left to right, instead of skipping around. So left to right, all in order. The reason you do this is because when you create your PDF, you want to be able to tab in order, and your tab order is going to be made in the order that you create your buttons. Do this for each of the areas that you have on the left-hand side, all the way down till we get to the bottom, then we'll start adding our check forms. As with the other ones, I'm going to pause my video, add all of my fields, and continue moving on. Alright, now you can see I've got all of my text fields created. Let's create some checkboxes, both at the bottom and at the top. To make a checkbox, again, we're going to choose our regular rectangle. We'll set our fill and stroke to be none. And I'm going to make a rectangle that's right on top of, actually a little bit larger than each check area that we have. In our Buttons and Forms panel, change your type to be a checkbox, and you can see it makes a little preview of that check. We can hold down our Option key and drag it over and make a copy of that one. We can also select each one of them and quickly copy and make a check on top of each one of these. The reason why I like to make mine much larger is so that when it makes the check goes outside of the box, kind of the way you would with a normal, if you were actually filling it out like regular. There we go. Each one of those was quickly and easily created. Down here, when you give an explanation, let's make another box. So click and drag. This one's going to be large enough to type into. We're going to set our type for this box. Select the box. There we go. Type is going to be a text field as well. But in this one, we want it to be more than one line. We want to set it to be multi-line. You can also change your font size to be a little bit smaller, and that'll give them more areas to type into. Multi-line simply means that it lets you add multiple lines to your type area, rather than default one line. For reasons for visit, let's make another text box off to the side. For this one, we're going to choose a combo box as our selection. Combo box will let you choose from multiple different items. Down at the very bottom, this is where we can add our list items to the area. So for each list items, could be a follow-up. Click the plus sign, medication, plus sign, allergies, you get the point, and say OK to this. This won't show anything up right now, but by adding the list items, when we go to export it, you'll see them created in your PDF. The next area, scrolling on down, these will be our radio buttons. As with the other one, create a little box, and we're going to put this box right on top of each of the circles. Got one box selected. The type is going to be radio button. Notice it gives a little dot in the center. The name of the radio button is going to be very important. If all of them are exactly the same, this will let me choose between this group. So as I make a copy of this one, notice that the copy of the name is exactly the same. So we'll do the same on this side. Copy that one into there, there, and also here. We do want to add radio buttons to how you'll be paying, but we don't want it to have the same name as above. So in this case, I'm just going to create another box, set the type of it to be a radio button, and this will be called radio button 2. As long as there's a different name, that's okay. And then make a copy inside of here. I'm going kind of quick so that it doesn't, you can center yours up much better from there. And then finally at the bottom, we've got a place for your insurance provider. With this one, we'll make another box down below. We're going to set that type to be a list box. And as with the combo box, you list your items down here at the bottom. So for the different kinds that you can have, there's Aflac. Click the plus sign. Geico. Blue Cross. State Farm. So on and so forth. If you do want these to automatically be in alphabetical order, you can click Sort Items and it puts them automatically in alphabetical. The last thing we're going to create is a non-printing clear and print button on our form. To do this, let's choose our type tool, click and drag, make a type box at the bottom. In this one I'm going to put clear form, and we'll center that up. Go to Object, Text Frame Options, and let's center align that one. I'll also make this button have a red background. Make my type white. And we'll make another button. We'll call this print form. We'll make this background be green and different. I'm going to select my clear form button, and for this type it's going to be a button, and we're going to give it an action. Clicking on the plus sign next to the actions, we're going to choose clear form. That means every time we click on it, it will clear all of the form fields that are in here. Let's choose our print form, set the type to be a button, add an action, and in our case choose print form. Also for both of these, we don't want them to print. So with our buttons selected, turn off printable. Let's choose our clear form and uncheck the printable. That means when it goes to print, these buttons won't show up on your print field. Alright, now that we've got the whole form created, here's how to save it and how to test it out. Go to File, Export, and we're going to create a PDF. In our case, we'll call this our doctor's form. I'm going to save mine to the desktop. The type of PDF is very important. Instead of a traditional print PDF, another kind is your interactive PDF. If you don't select interactive, all of the interactive elements won't be working. So make sure interactive is selected and not print. When we hit save, it'll give you lots of options for this. We're just going to say OK and export it. And by default, it may automatically open up. You may want to test your form as you're creating it, just to make sure each of the form fields works out and looks appropriate. Mine is going to open up in Adobe Acrobat. Now if yours opens up in Preview or some other option, yours may not be working correct. But from here, I can click inside of it and start typing and creating all of my information. Give it a second to load up. There we go. So first name, then I should hit Tab. Goes down to the next fields and type in this. I can also click my checkboxes and check them off. Computer's running a little bit slow. I should be able to type in a multi-line thing here. Choose a reason for visit. Choose my method of payment. Notice the radio buttons will change based on what you select. And then finally I can choose my insurance provider. If I click Clear Form, everything should reset. Give it just a second and go back to normal. And if I click Print Form, my print dialog box should open up. Notice in my preview, my two buttons aren't there. When you're finished, upload this interactive PDF to our Moodle page.